Thank you for joining us for the TSET Built Environment Nutrition Informational Webinar. Today's presenters are TSET Executive Director Julie Bisbee, Program Architect Jonas Mata, and Director of Grants Management Kelly Parker. The purpose of this webinar is to provide information about the Built Environment Nutrition upcoming grant and the timeline associated with it. This webinar will acquaint you with TSET's mission and purpose and how TSET grants make an impact. If we aren't able to answer your question today, we will capture them as part of the Q&A process for the grant opportunity. Let's begin with a short video.
Somewhere in Altus, Oklahoma, a rural doctor is treating patients close to home.
Somewhere in Goodwell, young hands are harvesting a labor of love.
From Drumright to Seminole,
Muskogee to Millwood High School.
TSET is saving lives by supporting tobacco-free lifestyles, cancer research, and funding for healthier schools and communities.
Somewhere in Alusty, the next generation is breathing tobacco-free air. The Tobacco Settlement Endowment Trust.
Making Oklahoma healthier, somewhere near you.
And now I would like to introduce TSET Executive Director Julie Bisbee. Welcome, Julie.
Thanks, Amanda. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us as we talk about our Built Environment grant for nutrition. Before we get to that, I want to hit a few high points about TSET. I see some familiar faces and names, but also some new ones, so that's exciting. Next slide, please. The Oklahoma Tobacco Settlement Endowment Trust, we are a voter-created state agency that makes grants and programs to improve health. We were created in 2000 by a vote of the people and have been doing great work since. You're going to learn about some of that today, but we kind of look at our work in three main areas: improve health and quality of life for Oklahomans, provide accountable programs and services, and address the hazards of tobacco and other issues. As many of you may know, Oklahoma created the Tobacco Settlement Endowment Trust after participating in a multi-state lawsuit against Big Tobacco for harms caused to the state. So tobacco prevention and cessation have always been very core issues to us in promoting smoke-free environments. Next slide, please. And, a recap, we are the only constitutionally protected endowment of MSA dollars in the country. So each year, the tobacco industry makes a payment to states based on the sales of cigarettes. 75% of that payment to the state comes to TSET. It's invested in our endowment. We have a separate board that handles investments. 25% of that annual payment goes to the legislature and the attorney general. And so this structure has stood the test of time, as the payments can fluctuate as well as the market can fluctuate. So Oklahomans should be very proud of this. It is a model for the nation. Next slide, please. And our work is focusing on improving three health behaviors that are causing four conditions that lead to roughly 58%, so more than half of our preventable deaths. Next slide, please. And those three behaviors are poor diet, tobacco use, and sedentary lifestyle. You will often see that Oklahoma is on the wrong end of the top 10 lists in these behaviors, and our work focuses on ways to improve access to healthy choices, of course, prevent and reduce tobacco use, and promote access for safe physical activity. Next slide. These three behaviors are driving risk factors for lung disease, heart disease and stroke, cancer, and diabetes. Next slide. Again, causing more than half of all preventable deaths in our state. So if we can work to help Oklahomans make healthier choices, have more positive health behaviors, we hope to reduce that number. Next slide. And that might not be some bright spots because we know we've got plenty of opportunities for improvement, but there is progress being made in our state. You can see before TSET was created, the smoking rate was roughly 28.6% for adults. Today, that number is nearly cut in half. The Oklahoma Tobacco Helpline, which is one of our flagship programs that offers free cessation and coaching for Oklahomans, has served nearly 600,000 registrants over the years and continues to have very good outcomes, top ranked in the country. And we're also looking at how do we prevent and reduce addiction in young people. We know the tobacco industry has often said if they could get a customer before the age of 18, they would have a customer for life. And so you will see us focus on how do we prevent and reduce access to tobacco and smoking among young people. There you can see that same downward trend. In 2003, youth smoking rate was 26.5. In 2023 is 4.3. Next slide, please. And now I'm going to turn it over to Jessica Davis, who is the Director of Engagement and Impact, to talk about this latest funding opportunity.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in today to hear more about our Built Environment grant that's aimed to increase access to nutrition across the state. So I'm going to provide over the next few slides a breakdown of the request for applications. Next slide, please. All right. The TSET Built Environment Nutrition Grant includes expanded funding for built environment initiatives aimed to increase access to healthy foods in Oklahoma. We have allocated $1.5 million towards this grant opportunity. This funding reflects a strategic approach to addressing some of the root causes associated with chronic disease. Poor nutrition is a major contributor to chronic disease such as diabetes, heart disease, and obesity. And we know that many communities, especially in rural communities, lack consistent access to affordable and healthy foods. We hope that this grant helps empower local leaders to identify local solutions to support long-term wellness for their citizens. Next slide. So this grant is aimed to bridge food access gaps by providing local level solutions that are aimed to impact community health. This grant is also central to TSET's mission, which is also to improve the health and quality of life of Oklahomans. So let's break out the funding opportunity. This is outlined within 3 major funding tracks. So track 1 is aimed for farmers markets that are existing. There is up to $100,000 per year that's dedicated for up to 2 years. Track 2 is for existing food pantries. This is again aimed for up to $100,000 per year for up to 2 years. And then lastly, track 3 is the Healthy Students in Schools track. That funding opportunity is for up to $200,000 per year for up to 2 years. Applicants may only select one funding track per grant application. However, you can submit more than one grant application. Applications that span multiple funding tracks or projects that do not align with any funding track will not be considered for this grant opportunity. Next slide, please. One of the most common questions that we get are around eligibility, applicant eligibility. So this is also dependent on funding tracks. So for tracks 1 and 2, farmers market and food pantries, eligible applicant organizations include institutions of common and higher education, local government like cities, towns, counties, nonprofit organizations, tribal organizations, public school districts, public school sites, or a state government agency. For track 3, this is aimed for public school districts, public school sites, nonprofits that operate a school site for specific populations, or tribal nations that operate a school site. Now, as a state agency, TSET funds cannot be used directly or indirectly to advance or promote any religious beliefs or to inhibit or discriminate against religious beliefs of others, and cannot be used to benefit or support any priest, preacher, minister, or other religious organization. Next slide, please. Confirmed match is required for projects that will benefit a population over 10,000 people. Match is based on the size of the population that will be served by the project. So page 7 of the request for application provides instructions on how to determine the potential reach for each project. But for population sizes between 10,000 and 2,000 or 29,999, match is required for 5% of the total project cost. For population sizes between 30,000 and 49,999, match is required for 10% of the total project cost. And for population sizes over 50,000, match is required for 15% of the total project cost. Also, TSET is a constitutionally created state agency and must comply with all state laws. Oklahoma law prohibits the payment for goods and services in advance according to the Oklahoma Central Purchasing Act. Therefore, all grant awards are paid on a reimbursement basis, and awarded organizations must be able to expend funds upfront before TSET can reimburse for any charges. Next slide. So for the grant opportunity, eligible applicants must have physical business presence in Oklahoma. That's a brick and mortar business presence in Oklahoma. They must own or lease the proposed project site. They must not accept any funding from the tobacco industry. That's one of the first questions that you will get as you fill out your grant application. And all of our grants are required to have a tobacco-free and wellness policy in place at the time of application. So those are some of the documents that you will be asked for as part of the grant application. And that's also one thing that it's better to start sooner rather than later. If you don't have those documents in place, it's best to go ahead and kind of get to work on that because it does take time sometimes to pass policies. Next slide. Additionally, eligible applicants must be in good standing with the Oklahoma Secretary of State. They must meet all of the eligibility requirements outlined within each funding track. Also, you must be willing to participate in project evaluation to determine the success of the project, and also being willing to support the project awareness of TSET's funding through project communications. Next slide. Additional project requirements, they must be nutrition related. They must involve increasing access to healthy foods. It must be a small to medium sized construction project. We have that defined within the request for application. We also require that our construction projects are shovel ready and site specific. So that means that all planning and design has already taken place at the time of application, and that the site is specific to one location, not multiple farmers markets across the county, for instance. Again, match is required if serving a population over 10,000. The project must benefit Oklahomans and it must take place in Oklahoma, which is one of our key requirements for a grant. There must also be a project staffing plan, and we also require accessibility of the project site to the public since this is using state funds. Next slide. And now I'm going to just have a little brief breakdown of all of the funding tracks, just so you kind of know a little bit more information according to each scope of work. So track 1, the farmers market track, is focused on existing farmers markets that are formalized at the time of application. So as part of the grant application, we are looking for you to submit market guidelines, bylaws, articles of incorporation, food safety rules, operating procedures, a staffing plan, proof of minimum operations, and a listing of at least 4 regular raw food product vendors. So an example of proof of minimum operations, perhaps you have a flyer that you could submit, maybe it's a social media post. These things don't necessarily have to be completely formal. We'll accept Word documents or list of some of these things, like your vendor list as well. Next slide. So some of the questions that we've also received are around like what types of eligible projects could we do under this funding track. So some examples listed within the RFA include shade structures, public restrooms, lighting, improvements for public accessibility. So that could be the sidewalk or the parking lot around the farmers market, refrigeration for vendors, seating, market signage. Next slide. And so this slide represents some examples of some projects that have been funded by TSET or some projects that really align with the market opportunity. So you'll see some beautiful signage. You'll see some beautiful pavilions that make a really nice spot for the vendors to go. You'll see restrooms and things like that. So not all of these have been paid for with TSET funds, but they're used for inspiration purposes. Next slide. Track 2, which is the food pantry track, does have some prerequisites as well. The food pantry must be operational at the time of application. So we're looking for food pantries that have already been established, and they should have some of these documents that will need to be submitted as part of the grant application. So that would include food pantry guidelines, bylaws, articles of incorporation, food safety rules, operating procedures, staffing plan, and a consistent operating schedule. Next slide. And some examples of projects that could be funded under this opportunity include storage space that's permanent, restrooms that are open to the public, coolers, freezers, anything to improve public accessibility to the market, gardens, signage, improvements for loading the food products or unloading the food products, things like that. Next slide. And again, this slide is for inspiration. Some of these projects have been funded by TSET while some have not. But you can see the beautiful food storage that has been created. You can see some of the refrigeration, just really highlighting the products that are available within the food pantry site. You could see a garden that was established in Noble, Oklahoma. You could see the restroom. So these are the types of projects that are eligible under this funding opportunity. Next slide. Lastly, we have track 3, which is healthy students in schools. So again, this is aimed to increase access to nutrition at school sites. So to be eligible, you must be an Oklahoma pre-K through 12 public school site or district. And the project must be aimed at improving health in areas such as cafeterias, vending, or concession stands at the school site. Next slide. And again, some examples of these projects include cafeteria or concession renovations, school gardens that will have produce for the students, the employees, the parents, the guardians, permanent greenhouses, updating kitchen equipment so that healthy food prep is easier, such as like fruit slicers and things like that. Walk-in coolers and freezers. Water stations are also pretty popular at schools, so that also may be of interest for this funding opportunity. So again, next slide. These are just some photos for inspiration. Some have been funded by TSET, while some have not, but you can see some beautiful salad bars. You can see the water station. You can see a beautiful greenhouse. So all of these things help increase access to healthy food and make food look more appealing. And with that, I am going to hand the presentation over to Kelly Parker, who is our Director of Grants Management, to take us away.
Thanks, Jessica, and thank you all for joining us on this webinar. It's really great to see all of you. So we have the Built Environment Grant for Nutrition timeline here below. So the RFA was released on July 1st, just a couple weeks ago. So it's currently open, accepting applications. The last day to submit questions regarding this funding opportunity is August 1st. And applications are due on the 26th of August, not in the year 2925, but that should be 2025. Sorry about that typo. And then we will announce the awards after our regularly scheduled Board of Directors meeting on January 29th of 2026 for grants to begin on April 1st, 2026. Next slide, please. So applications for this funding opportunity must be submitted via Salesforce, or you'll hear our TSET's funding portal probably used more often. So for technical assistance with the funding portal, including questions regarding registration, you can email our portal help email inbox, and that is portalhelp@tset.ok.gov. And it's really encouraged to not wait until the deadline to kind of get in there and start looking around, and especially to submit, as technical assistance cannot be guaranteed at the last minute. If an applicant realizes a mistake in or omission from their application, you can go right back into your account and make changes through the funding portal, but no additional information may be submitted through your account after the application deadline. Next slide. Just some reminders, so please read the RFA carefully and submit all required documents when you're submitting your application. Our applications go through 2 reviews. So the first one is a technical review and then a full review. So the technical review really is a check to make sure that all required documents were submitted with the application. And then the full review is a more in-depth analysis of the application sections and the proposed projects. Next slide. There are 2 videos on the Built Environment Grant website with instructions on registering for the funding portal. So they really provide great steps on accessing the required forms that you'll need upon registration, and also on how to complete the registration form in the portal so that you can get your account all set up and begin your application. Next slide. We do have a public question and answer process so that we can provide information to all potential applicants who may also be in the know or want to be in the know. And questions about this funding opportunity must be submitted in writing via our website. So it's basically a web form that's located in many places across our website, but you can find it on the Built Environment Grant landing page on our website as well. So, and you can scan that QR code if you have your phone handy, but again, there are links on our website. And answers will be posted to the website on the following days. So we'll post a group today, and then on the 30th of July, August 6th, and August 13th. Next slide. And as I mentioned in the timeline, questions received after 4 p.m. on August 1st may not receive a response. And when submitting a question, if you could please try to be concise and include the page number and section references if you're asking a question specifically related to something listed in the RFA. And we send out a press release or a news alert letting people know that questions have been posted, but if you'll feel free to check our website and look for those questions and answers that were submitted. Next slide. With some Q&A reminders, we cannot respond to questions about whether an organization's specific project is eligible for a TSET grant. Potential applicants should read the open RFA to determine if the organization's project aligns with TSET's mission and the specific RFA scope of work. So Jessica did a really good job explaining the tracks and the different scopes of work within those. And so that's where you're going to find the best information to determine if your project aligns with the RFA. Assistance requests associated with the documents and the RFA guide may be submitted to our grants management team at grantsmanagement@tset.ok.gov. Next slide. So in addition to the Built Environment Grant for Nutrition, there are anticipated funding opportunities to be released in FY26. Our conference and sponsorships, our training sponsorships are open year round, and they are kind of closed once funding is exhausted or at the end of the fiscal year. In Q1 of FY26, we anticipate to release a TSET Built Environment for Construction grant for physical activity for parks, open spaces, and safe routes in schools. Next slide. Then also in Q1, we anticipate releasing a Built Environment Planning and Design grant for physical activity for, again, those parks, open spaces, and safe routes in schools. And our TSET Healthy Incentive Grant for school districts will open in September. We also anticipate releasing 3 more funding opportunities in Q1: Targeted Achievement Grant for Physical Activity, the Targeted Achievement Grant for Nutrition, and the Targeted Achievement Grant Tobacco 21, which is to reduce youth access to tobacco. Next slide. In Q2, we will open and close our TSET Healthy Incentive Grant for Communities funding opportunity. And then again in Q3, our Healthy Incentive Grants for districts will reopen and close. Next slide. The Healthy Incentive Grant for Communities will again open and close in Q3, and we anticipate opening up our TSET Discovery Grants in Q3 as well. Next slide. So here are some QR codes if you'd like to scan them and find out, just kind of again, stay in the loop for all TSET funding opportunities. The first QR code will send you to our website so that you can sign up for alerts, so that you can get updates when, anything is new or documents are added to the Built Environment grants. The second one is our main funding opportunity page that'll take you right there to all of our upcoming funding opportunities. And then the third QR code, if you scan that, that'll take you to our Built Environment grant webpage. Next slide. Oh, and I think I'm done. I'll hand this back off to Amanda. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us for the TSET Built Environment Nutrition Grant webinar. You can use the QR code or see the TSET website for more information. The RFA, required documents, timeline, and form for question and answer. This recorded webinar will be on the TSET website later today. And again, we thank you for your interest in being part of TSET's work to improve the health of all Oklahomans. Thank you for coming.